Start the webinar. Hello, everyone, and a very good morning to all of you, distinguished delegates, speakers, and participants from SAARC member states and other regions around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very thankful to all of you for joining us in this webinar. My name is Hassan Javed, and I am a research fellow, SAARC Energy Centre. Sahabat, I shall be moderating today's webinar, the aim of which is to discuss the need for developing pumped storage hydropower technology and to explore what policy and regulatory changes are needed in the SAARC region. The webinar shall include presentations from speakers such as Professor Dr. Arun Kumar, Assistant Professor Dr. Himanshu Jain, and Dr. Emmanuel Koranta. Dear participants, you have the opportunity to ask questions to the presenters. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the question answer session at the end of presentations. With this, now I request Dr. Nawaz Ahmed, who is the Director, SAARC Energy Centre, for his opening remarks. Over to Dr. Shah.
Dear participants and presenters of the webinar, good morning, everyone. I, Dr. Nawaz Ahmed, as Director, SAARC Energy Centre, welcome you all to this knowledge sharing webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, SAARC region represents nearly 25% of the world population, and energy security is an important agenda for prosperity of South Asian region. SAARC region is part of global transformation of sustainable and renewable energy systems for least possible environmental footprint and increased energy security. Among other solutions, pumped storage hydropower is a vital component of this transformation. Pumped storage hydropower offers a unique opportunity for South Asia to leverage its vast water resources, complement solar and wind power, and ensure reliable energy supplies. This technology has the potential to enhance energy security, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, support grid stability, and foster regional cooperation. Throughout this webinar, our expert speakers will delve into various aspects of the topic, including number one, current state of pumped storage hydropower in South Asia. Number two, potential opportunities and challenges of pumped storage hydropower technology. Then policy and regulatory frameworks, technical and economic benefits, market mechanisms and investment risk for PSH projects, PSH sustainability challenges, and they will also speak about future prospects and opportunities for regional collaboration. Dear participants, we have an impressive lineup of our speakers, including Professor Dr. Arun Kumar, Assistant Professor Dr. Himanshu Jain, and Dr. Emmanuel Koranta. We hope that their insights and expertise will enrich our understanding of pumped storage hydropower's technology and its potential in South Asia. In the end, I thank you all for joining this webinar. I expect this event to be an interactive session, so please feel free to join the discussion and express your valuable opinions. With these words, I declare the session open and wish you all a very comfortable learning and knowledge sharing experience. Now I request Mr. Hassan Javed, our research fellow at SAARC Energy Centre, to take us through the agenda. Over to Mr. Hassan, and thank you all again for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Nawaz Ahmed. So now we go on with the agenda of the webinar. So first we have a presentation on the potential opportunities and challenges of pump storage hydropower technology. The presentation shall be delivered by Dr. Arun Kumar. I'll just briefly give the profile of Dr. Arun Kumar. So Professor Arun Kumar of Department of Hydro and Renewable Energy, Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, India. Currently serving as Emeritus Fellow, works in the area of hydropower and pump storage development, environmental management of water bodies, energy economics and policy with civil and hydropower engineering education. Professor Kumar has over 4 decades of experience in the field of hydropower and environmental management of river and lakes. He is the chairman of Hydro Research Committee of Ministry of Power, member of Central Advisory Committee of Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, and independent director of KSEBL, State Power Utility of Kerala. He is also the vice president of Federation of Indian Small Hydropower. He is a fellow of ASCE, Institute of Engineers India, International Hydropower Association, Indian Water Resources Society, Institution of Public Health Engineers, IWWA, and member ASME, IEEE, ICID, AWWA India, and SESI. So over to you, Dr. Arun Kumar, for your presentation, sir.
Thank you, Javed Saab, for very generous introduction of me. Of course, me as an educationist, as a teacher, as a professor at IIT Roorkee. So we'll talk about this topic, which is a very emerging topic of today's time, and I hope this for all the viewers who are participating. I would like to mention them that please type your questions there. I will certainly try to respond to you, and in case if something is there, we'll try to do that. So this is the first thing in the sense of first the presentation. So talking about opportunity challenges in the pump storage activity and what is happening here. So all of us know that we are all over the world, there is an energy transition taking place. This is because of the impacts of climate change, and that is the reason people are now switching over from carbon emitting technology to relatively low carbon emitting technologies such as wind, solar, and so all over the world, even the vehicles are getting changed from the fuel, which is conventional petroleum fuel, fossil fuel, converting into the charging with the electrical battery systems or electrical systems similarly. So, but now in terms of operator, of powerhouse operator, that because of we are having this solar and wind as a renewable energy. So in the past, we used to have a absolutely controllable power generation where we used to have a non-controllable load demand. But now, since renewable energy itself is a non-controllable, so the whole matter has become totally non-controllable. But we have to make that our system and aspirations of every individual all over the world are rising every day. And those aspirations are rising to the extent that people expect that 24 hours, 7 days, electricity without any disruptions should be over there. And that's one of the reasons that's making that grid operators or power utilities a very new time. I will not say tough time, but it's a very new kind of time. So people are now going out of that comfort zone into very challenging times where everything has to come up in a fashion where aspiration of common citizens are met and the country's aspirations of developing is met. So there are drivers in the sense that global movement is there towards renewable energy, where all countries are committed through their national determination contributions, and there is a cost also where cost is also happening is an important part of that. The batteries and sector electrical vehicles are switching on. Grid modernization is taking place. It's no more normal grid. It's now smart grids where charging stations are also being placed all over the places. And then wholesale market of electricity, which was not that the case about 20, 30 years back, but now today market is everybody is participating in the wholesale electricity market. and there are financial incentives are also being made available by the government because they are committed towards this one. And then we also having the feed-in tariff, which used to be a luxury to the renewable energy systems, but now it's not there. It's now getting reduced out. It is getting out of that thing. So all things are in the market driven, and there has to be self-sufficient instead of dependency on external, in terms of technical or external fuel like that, which comes from petroleum product from some countries. And as a policy of the governments, all over there is a policy of that we need to reduce the dependence on energy imports and energy, especially the fuel imports. That's what they are saying. Everybody is talking about decarbonization targets. So the grid infrastructure is now it is frequent needs are there for the peaking because our demand is rising, and so energy storage, which is one of the solution for taking care of all this, where we can also reduce peak load, and also utilities asset infrastructure, since it has been aging in the past, and there are the peak load reduction. So we have to have the modern infrastructures and those peak plants which are used only for fractional hours, and they are being utilized for peaking capacity in a generation planning. So we need to have the energy storage, and that storage is utilized across the grid as a capacity resource, as a flexibility resource, because whenever there is flexibility required, ramping up, ramping down, we can also have backup resource where whenever we want, we can get it from there. And also the quality of the electricity. We can't afford today a quality of the electricity which is not as per the prescribed, regulations, and otherwise that becomes disturbing to the grid. So energy resource is one of the key today for the any kind of grid or any kind of power utility supply which is picking up. And so we require storage. That's where the requirement has come. And if we do not do the storage, that even the renewable energy, solar and wind, you need to curtail them if you don't have the enough storage. I'm just citing you some of the examples here of some of the states in India, like Telangana, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, which has more solar and wind, where you can see if you do not have the storage, even the utility of those intermittent variable renewable energy sources is there. So even you have to curtail, and when you curtail renewable energy electricity production, so obviously economy is not there. It doesn't encourage for investment, and that's one of the things which has to be understood very, very well. So I require storage, and also the reason that my generator have relatively very less flexibility. And some of the plants like thermal, which you used to the base, especially the countries like India and Pakistan, that is where we have very relative flexibility, and also because their ramping is very slow, and that becomes a requirement of the storage, where ramping is fast, and we require a wide range of flexibility. So that's where I have trying to bring out the point that we require a flexibility and storage. And further, what should be the duration of the storage? Normally people see the battery is an immediate answer. People know about it, the storage, because even many of us have used inverter in their home when the electricity used to be off, or power cards used to be there for serving some need. But then what should be duration? Can we have the duration, longer duration? Because this renewable energy, which is solar and wind by and large, is highly intermittent in nature, highly variable in nature. Hence, if we have, suppose sun doesn't shine that day, the wind doesn't blow that day, what is going to happen to my system? So we require some kind of storage where the events like droughts, which can be more than 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, even 24 hours, what's going to happen? And in that conditions, we require not only energy storage, but also we require energy storage of longer duration. That's what point I'm making it. So first of all, we require energy storage, and second, we require the long duration energy storage, and that's why our all countries planning for resource adequacy requires that we must have a mixed bag of energy storage. We cannot depend on only one kind of storage. We require short-term duration storage. We also require long-term storage durations. So if you look at the, just trying to give a picture here, this is a screenshot from our grid controller, which is right now country actually is not 416. Right now we are 450 gigawatt kind of capacity we have, where you can see that in some of the states, you see my renewable energy, which is solar and wind, like for example, Karnataka, where my cursor is, at some time a point, 132% is renewable energy. And if you look at the maximum has been 65%. So when this scenario is expected that in next 5-10 years is going to be 100%, 20 years by 2050, everything will become 100%. So all carbon friendly technology will be on stream, and all non-carbon friendly will be out of. So I'm just trying to mention that that we are going for this penetration, but not only 11%, now 40% is going to be there when we mix it up with the renewable, hydro also. So all that, I'm just trying to bring it here. Of course, some places out there which are good for solar, some good places are for wind. So we require very robust grid infrastructure. So we require very sober grid infrastructure. So now we have established the need. We have established that we require all kind of duration of the technology, I mean storage technology, and then we have few various type of storage technology. The mechanical, where pump storage the phase, and compressor. Then electrochemical, which is the batteries, where lithium-ion and vanadium redox batteries are getting highlight because they are now becoming more popular. Let us say it is out of town. Thermal projects, where we're talking about sensible molten installed, which can store the thermal storage, so electrical superconductivity, and that capacitor, and in chemical power to power. So the hydrogen, they are all coming up over here. So here in our area, since we have couple of energy storage technology, so in this webinar we will be focusing on pump storage technology, not others, because others also have a good merit. And maybe in the last, if time remain, I will also give a comparison, their supply chain comparison, their carbon emission comparison, their financial viability comparison. If the time permits, I will do that. Otherwise, through the notes, of course, you can get. Now, pump storage. So basically, there are two types, not the three types, but two types also. You can say three types also. One is that where you require two reservoirs in a pump storage. What you have two reservoirs. One at the higher elevation, one at the lower elevation. In normal hydro, you have one reservoir. On the upper elevation, you allow the water pass through the turbine and then water flow downstream. But here, instead of downstream water to flow, we allow the water to store on the downstream reservoir. So that's why you require two reservoirs. One is for upper, and when the water will flow from upper reservoir to the lower reservoir, then generation will happen. When we had to pump it back through using the off-peak grid or cheaper electricity, we will pump it back from the lower reservoir to upper reservoir. So here, if both reservoirs are in the stream or in the river, we call them they are open loop and on stream. Here, challenge is that you have to make two dams in the stream. And when you make the dam in the stream, that becomes a challenge because today's environmental concerns, settlement concerns, social concerns, so many issues comes in, and which are many times difficult to overcome or sometimes be able. The second time is off-peak, off-stream. So that means either one or both reservoirs are not in the stream. Here, if you look at the left side, here one reservoir in the stream, but the second reservoir, which is the upper reservoir, is on the top of the hill. So that means the second reservoir is off stream and one reservoir in stream, and we call it them open loop. Off stream but open loop, because here one reservoir is not in the stream. But then there are situations, so there are good conditions where I can take off both reservoirs, not in the stream, but some other areas. If you can see the right two pictures where the both reservoirs are not in the stream. And the advantage is very simple, that if you they have advantage also, they have disadvantage also. The advantage is very simple, that if it is not in the stream, the issues regarding the submergence, regarding the flow, regarding the flood control, regarding the sediment control, regarding the various biodiversity issues are not there. Only land acquisitions, and if there are some kind of people have to be resettlement, but then they are relatively low number because submergence is not there. It's not big submergence, not there. You get a flooded areas, so that's very relative. I'd like to tell you that this is getting a very attractive attraction among everybody today, because here constructing two reservoirs of the river is relatively, but the challenge is here, you have to make up the water. You have to fill up with the water here. The water has to ensure from nearby, maybe by pumping or by gravity, you have to fill it up once or twice, and then you have to make sure that the makeup water is available for the losses which happens to the evaporation seepage. So pump storage are the three types. But then we talk about relevance in the because of this we have a variable renewable energy penetrating, time shifting is happening, storage is required, ramping capabilities are required, and peak shaving is required. Black starts many times situation is there, so you need to have mechanism which we can have black start. Then frequency response can be there. Spinning reservoirs because you want any spinning. So anytime you want immediately electricity of 500 megawatt, 200 megawatt, 1000 megawatt, 2000 megawatt, then immediately can come it up from the pump storage or storage projects, and then of course reactive power and voltage control. So these are some of the ancillary services or protective services or energy grid services which are available only from hydro or storage based hydro projects, which is unique in nature, because that's not only electricity, but also it gives you support. So in terms of technology, we talk about this technology is not a new one. We should not think that PSP is a very new technology. In fact, if you remember, if anybody remember, the first hydroelectric projects in the world came in 1882. At the same time, Zurich and in Europe also, we had this pump storage, of course. Then the day we mature and the requirement of the pump storage kept is being felt and keep on slowly picking it up. But after this RE, especially after 2015 commitment of the Paris, where every country is determined now to contribute towards climate change, reduction in the carbon things. Hence, so this is not a new technology, but it is a technology which has gone all the time. It's a journey all the side to side. But since it has not been extensively used, hence there are various new searches or new researches or new layouts are being investigators, efficiencies, improvements, everything has happened. So there are technologies like that. There are fixed speed where that my motor, since the same motor and same generator works, so the same when it works as a motor, my speed is a fixed speed. It's relatively simple, but also I can think of a variable speed where we have a doubly fed or converted fed. Then you have a ternary kind of things where we are able to do a short circuiting of hydraulics. So it can also give a good variations for the pumping mode. Similarly, quaternary PSP technology, which is with a short circuiting, so that my transition time is improved upon when you switch over time, improved upon that. Now I look at the South Asia, which is our area of working. All of us are gathered here. We are on the screen to look at that. The data, I know I taken it from the different references. So if the data is something which is not updated, please excuse me on that. But the idea is not that we have to say the figure is wrong, but maybe the database, maybe where the reference has been done, maybe a little older. But I just picked up the figures. Country like Afghanistan, about 40 million people, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Nepal, and Pakistan. I missed it Maldives here, but Maldives, sorry, I missed the Maldives, though I thought I'll do it because they also have something about in terms of power. They are by and large they have the diesel-based power because it's an island and it's not. They don't have the mountains or like Sri Lanka have. They don't have the lakes like Sri Lanka have. They are by and large the diesel-based electricity, but some solar is also coming up. So if any participant is from Maldives, so please pardon me, I missed it, but I think I have used somewhere else the same thing. So that will come over here. But in terms of PSP, hydropower installation, some here, some figure is given in case of Afghanistan miners. That means they import electricity, but then there are import and export things are happening. The Bangladesh have certain in-house and certain power. So I will also talking about the power exchange which happens, and the Bhutan, the India, and then India actually have not only 47, they have 5,000 small hydro also. So altogether capacity is here, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So by and large, Himalayan river are Himalayan countries are Afghanistan, Bhutan, India, and Nepal and Pakistan. So by and large, the potential relatively is higher over there because of the Himalayan boom, because the Himalaya is there, and such a capacity potential is also there. But in terms of PSP, not much thing has not things have been done in other country other than the India. But also in India, looking at the size of the country, looking at the grid size, the power size, this is also very very small. And even out of them, something about 1.4 gigawatt is not working in pump mode. So, but then there are the silver line is that every country has got certain dams. Afghanistan has some very large dams. Pakistan has got. Sri Lanka has got. So many of the dams they are essential for PSP. So they become a good fit case. I was trying to compare with some of the leading countries in PSP. The China is the one where they have already done about 54 gigawatt kind of PSP, and they themselves have a hydro about 400,000 of hydro they have. Out of that, about 14 to 12% or 11% is the PSP. So and then USA is where they have about 22 thousand of PSP, and similarly Japan, where they have also fairly good number of PSP, almost equal capacity of pump and hydro. So if you just look at the numbers, and they also have the large dams, like China has about 24,000. So those countries where you have a large dams, they give a relatively easier and early opportunity of using them as a pump storage. So that's where the message I like to say. And if you like to compare wise, either kind of figure I'm giving you, and then in few minutes I'm going to talk to you what is happening in the different part of the world. So if we talk about source of valuable electricity storage in SAARC countries, like science, import dependency reduction will be there, ancillary services will be there, the cost reduction in terms of generation costs, resource adequacy will be there. In Bangladesh, also fuel oil displacement will be reduced, ancillary services, production costs, and similarly Bhutan, export automation will be there, regional RE integration will be there. In India, it's energy time shifting, system balancing, RE integration. All of you, I think, know that. If you do not know, let me also inform you that India at the moment operates as a single
Uh, Hello, Arun Kumar sir. Your voice is not audible. I think you are on hold.
Sir, let me call him. Maybe there's some issue on his end. Let me give him a call. Just give me a second, okay?
Yes, yes, yes. Sure. So let me take this as an opportunity to tell our participants that you are allowed to ask any questions from Professor Arun Kumar or other participants during their presentations, and we will try to address those questions at the end of each presentation. Plus, we have a separate session at the end
Sir,
of our
hold.
webinar. So you can also discuss your questions in that session. So Arun Kumar sir, are you audible now?
I just informed him he's probably trying to re-log in, and probably will take probably a minute, I guess.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Can you see me? Yeah, I'll upload it again. I think there was a call and somebody disturbed me. Sorry about it. So we are here and let me pop up here. Okay now?
Yes, sir. It's
Yes.
okay.
Sorry about it. My apology for such intervention by somebody. And in fact, the whole country, I mean, the whole region requires, and then I like to also mention is that what is happening the worldwide, worldwide, what is happening, where the number of projects are there, which I just mentioned in the figures, and a lot of projects are coming up, a lot of projects are coming. I've not added the figure of China here, but they are about 80,000 megawatt kind of projects are more coming in China, because China is very aggressively working. I think by 2030, they expect to do by something about 130,000 megawatt kind of things, United States, Japan. But you will be happy to learn, or you will be, that India is working very hard on a PSP. So something, though we had only a very, very low score of 4,000 megawatt, but now 61,000 kind of megawatt of project, hydro projects are in, they are in different stage of survey, investigation, clearances, etc. Even but if you look at the countrywide, the whole globally, you can see something about 180,000 megawatt is there. Out of roughly 30% is coming from China itself, and then Germany something about 10% or something like that. No, 5%. And India, of course, is still very, very low, but it's 4%. But then aggressively it's working on this. And so this just to give a comparison picture of the what is happening the worldwide, and except India, because of the maybe large requirement, because of the policies, aggressive policies, things happening. And so if I'll try to give a picture of this, what is bringing PSP? Why the energy storage coming here? Why in some of the countries which I put in a comparison wise here, that there's a policy push? Yes, because of carbon neutrality, carbon reduction. China is coming up here. The Japan, Australia, everybody is pushing through that. And they also were the time of the utilization at the low voltage levels. But if you look at what the market, though my colleague will be speaking more on that. But then there are some people taking as a grid asset, some people are talking as a generation asset, some people put in absolutely in the market, and it's a bidirectional. So, but then there are sometimes available, some funds are available, like government supports are there. So there are varieties of, regions or factors enabling this PSP to come. So that's what I just try to put that figure here. So typically, this picture you can see very well. This is a off-river picture, and this is an image of a project called Jalkan. It's in Germany, and I think it's about 400 megawatt. Then it's a very gold star. It's one of the earliest projects in Germany, where 1,000 megawatt project is there. You can see all a upper river on the top of the hill, and that's the river. They are relatively easy. So if you have an existing reservoir, so you use as a lower reservoir and put a second reservoir or the upper reservoir on the top of the hill, and then this will not involve so many problems of the resettlement, rehabilitation issues, because most of the time the top of the hills are relatively are not habited much. Similarly, you can have any kind of size of this, any kind of shape you can have these upper reservoirs. As I mentioned here, you can see this kind of shape. You can have this circular shape. You can have exhaust shape. Any shape you have, depending on the availability of one. So you can also look at this, how beautiful it look like that. And this project has been commissioned long back in 1963. So it's roughly 60 plus year old. So it is on the top of the hill. So there's no difference. So there's all biodiversity maintained. Everything is fine. So it's only, some path and those kind of things. So this gives a good opportunity. Off river projects give off-river PSP gives an excellent opportunity to operate, and that's where I try to mention to you. Now, but I have to give a caution here. Like when you do this project, there have a failure of the something, and then this kind of failure is not expected, not accepted also, because if this happens in the habitat area, this could cause a lot of casualty. So here we must be careful that we should choose the material of the embankment. We should not use earth fill dam. We should only use concrete here or rock fill, so that there is no chance of breaching. And even breaching place, we must have adequate spilling arrangement so that there is no catastrophe or there is no something happen. Somehow, this project, which failed in 2005, has been put back again on the stream, and you can see how beautifully it has been done. And now everything concrete has been used, and now our spilling arrangement has been made. So now there is no chance of getting any kind of overtopping. So that kind of lessons were learned in this. In terms of PSP, you can have a unit size. People have done up to 5 to 500 megawatt. You can have even a smaller one also. There are some instances even 2 megawatt has been there, and you can have the storage capacity more than 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. You can have any handage more than 10 meter to 2,000 meter. But when you have a more than 600 meters, you need to have multi-stage pumps, because while doing the pump, there is a challenge for when you have highlight, but then it's possible. Cyclic efficiency is 80%. Reaction time is very fast. You can go in 15 seconds to 1 minute or 2 minutes. And of course, ancillary service, everything is available to the PSP, which is not available to the one. Just to give a landscape of India, here India, we have, I just said that there are about 69,000 projects are happening, and they are at the various stage. So out of that, about only 60,000 megawatt projects are on stream, but about 53,000 megawatt projects are off stream. So right now it's a big trend which is happening on the off river. And reason and logic is very simple. They are easy to do because they are relatively not a problem. This is a project which is about to commission here. It is close to our town. It is called Tehri, about 100 kilometers from here, where the existing one reservoir is being used as a rural reservoir, and one is being used. So there are two existing projects, and that is about to commission. It's 1,000 mega projects over there. So there are a lot of tunnels, etc., because it's totally underground. But this can be open ground. So Government of India also has issued some guidelines where allotment has been advised, because in India, the water belongs to state government, not the federal government. So if it belongs to the state government allot the anything activity on the water. But then since federal government is a higher, but then at the higher level, so they keep on giving the guidelines, but still all the state governments are entitled to give the allotment. So they have been advised to that allotment should be through the transparent process. There should be timeline should be very short. There should not be any kind of premium. There should be tax duties maybe relatively, relaxed, exemptions from power. I mean, all those kind of things, which actually, because everybody understand that this is not a net power producer. It is a consumer, because there is a loss of power. So now I look at the data of the Nepal. Nepal, some people have tried, some of the researchers tried. And after this one, I can I can put it to the, in the remarks in chat side, I can put some references where even using two lakes at different elevations, people have tried, like even one lake can be used as a reservoir, and second top of the hill can be used. So some of researchers in Nepal, they tried to do some kind of, finding out the possibilities of using the lake or as one of the reservoir and constructing the other power also. This is just to give an idea. In Sri Lanka, you require peaks here, and this is the data from Central Electricity Board report, where they talk about typical daily demand supply. So this you require peak deficit. So peak deficit can come either through the battery, and if it is long duration, something like 3 to 4 hours, but it's you have advantage of Sri Lanka has advantage of having more than 100 dams. So hence this is a good advantage that you can use existing dams, and accordingly, some of researcher in Sri Lanka has also tried to calculate or try to find out some possibilities of some of the dams here. I mean, some of the PSPs where they can use existing dams Some of the sites is near, I think, Kandy or somewhere, because that's Kandy is the area where you have a lot of mountains and a good space, and there are a lot of hydropower is also coming or is already there. Where some of the projects you can mount it, of course, that has to be finally taken on call. And I think one or two projects are on some feasibility stage where the CEB has already got the feasibility report done. So those details, of course, are not with me, but at the same time, it means even the countries are doing something on this. Even in Pakistan, some of the researcher, tried to find it out that one project called Paras, some Paras projects, Paras projects is planned for a weekly storage where using one existing reservoir as a lower reservoir and then constructing an upper reservoir for this one. So this is big. So what I'm trying to say with this that there are efforts, but then these efforts in other countries other than India are relatively isolated efforts, but that requires perhaps institutional efforts, and that is the reason I think this PSP is required, because expectation of public common person is very high now. People want 24/7 electricity. Those are the days gone days then when you used to have a luxury of having a power cards, and no, now today expectation from the government, from the government of the day are very, very high. So this is what happens are happening in the US. I'd like to also mention, since this topic of PSP, though it's 130 years old, but in recent time, because of the RE, since renewable energy is coming in a large one, so a lot of interest has come in the researcher, and a lot of people are trying different types of layouts, different types of systems, which I would like to have your attention on this. Like for example, the off-river geomechanical pumps. So I think instead of reading this, and there are two references which I given here. So if you want to go through more details, you can review this. You can look at these two reports. They give you very excellently. They also calculated. They also analyzed the relative merits, like using sea as a reservoir and a cliff on top of it as upper reservoirs. This project has been done in in Japan. Of course, it has been closed because after I think 50, 20 years operation, they did not find much of economic viability to maintain, but they did try. Similarly, people try a sea as upper reservoir and sea bed as a lower reservoir, where they placed 30 meter, 20 meter kind of spares, where they put small turbines of 5 megawatt, 20 megawatt each, so that they can use as a lower reservoir in the one. And similarly, you can use the abandoned mines, because there are open cut mines, whether for stones quarry or for coal or any kind of things, where those are abandoned mines, they can use as a lower reservoir, and you construct an upper reservoir. Similarly, like one of the projects happening in Australia, I think it's a 400 megawatt project where abandoned mine, which has been the gold mine abandoned, so 400 megawatt project is right now under construction, and I hope that next year it will be commissioned. And we did try something in India also, because India also has a lot of coal mines, so we could locate a few sites. And in fact, this is just to give a sample that we could locate two such sites, and of course they are relatively smaller in number size, because our mines have been relatively smaller. But if that depends upon the geology and the topography of the area, this is possible. And here people are using as a as a vertical shaft, where they use a piston made of rock or maybe steel as a piston, and using the gravity. And if you look at this gravity, if I just move it here, can you see here? So because I'm taking the power from renewable energy, so I'm running the pump, the piston is going up, and then the weight is going down because of the gravity, because there's a weight, and because of the weight, the water will this piston fall. So here also, this technology is it's patented. Many technologies, many versions are there. So everybody who does the invention, he puts on these things, and he puts on as a copyright. So they have normally patent, etc. So, but then there are many people, many different types of people are trying. and some projects are under thing. But I'll say it will still take more time because when to make it more commercially viable. But what I'm trying to say that people are trying different ways. You will not believe that there is a project of something about 500 gigawatt in in the area like Estonia, where in the construction permit has been issued for a 500 megawatt, where they're using underground reservoir. They are creating a reservoir in the ground, underground. So your water level sees your upper level, your upper reservoir, and they are not on the seabed, but they are constructing a reservoir inside them, inside the ground, maybe about 400, 500 down. So like you can see, is for about height is about 500. So down, and they have a lot of space, and that's why they are using it. So all kind of, I mean, you can say today I can call them a little bit crazy, but you never know the crazy ideas are many times over there. Even people are taking that when I have extra electricity, I lift the mass by creating a tower. So I lift the mass by using that electricity, which is cheap, and then I let the gravity to fall. By gravity will fall, and then it's called solid gravity energy. And there are some schemes like here, people can use a train where when I have electricity, I bring the weight by a slope or a rail, and when I want generate, I allow this weight to fall down, and this kind of things are there. It's called lifting weight, and they are on the train, and then also I can go and create the cranes, vertical towers. Like one of those towers have been done in China. It's I think 20 megawatt projects, but then there are few here and there. I would like to mention to you, these projects have got very bright future because of many reasons. You can do it indigenously. You need not to go outside. You need not to be dependent on the import. Mostly concrete, mostly concrete and steel, which most of the people have it. And also advantage that you need not to have import material, but then still in terms of their technology readiness level, it's still miles to go. It's still more steps to go. So more time will take to get technology mature enough. Even people go for a wind turbine, they're using their base as a small reservoirs and creating lower reservoirs. This is a project in Germany. It's only 16 megawatt plant, which is right now operating for couple of years. So now I'm here almost about end of my presentation, that there are challenges because I given you a very comprehensive picture of that various new technologies are being developed, but they are basically layout in terms of technology. Say gravity, whether by the water, by the solid, and there are different versions are there. So now what are the challenges? Challenges are very, because we are used to have hydro project, and hydro project are 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So getting the approvals, getting the permission, getting the clearances is still people are the same. So it takes same time. So we have to reduce. In India, in fact, the authorities say that we will clear in 15 days time, though 50 days time is only a expected. I mean, it is written there, but in fact takes much longer time. So capital cost is high, gestation period is long compared to other technology, time and cost over there. The land acquisition takes a lot of time. There are technical and geological challenges. Regulatory policy framework is still in a developing phase. The market structure, which my colleague is going to speak, revenue streams are not well established, and there is competition from other technology like batteries, and sometimes water availability can be a challenge when they compete in use, and then interaction with the when you have to connect to the grid, that also may be challenges. So there are many challenges in terms of this. We can hours and hours we can discuss with only one topic, but with the time and purpose of this webinar is to create the interest, and similarly we can mitigate them. So early engage with the stakeholders. You keep on allowing, you keep on doing the work, but at the same time you get engaged all the stakeholders, so that your process of clearance is the process of understanding, process of impact analysis, everything becomes easy. And you also get a good funding, so you should get involve them from the early stage. You should have very robust project management so that delays are not wanted here. Community engagement should be there. So I would like to tell you there are many instances in India now community engagement, because the private sector is coming in a big way here. Hence, community engagement has been a very good. And then you have long-term contracts, and those kind of contingency funds should be there. And we should say that they are very time to appropriate frame the regulations, all SAARC countries, and the allotment of technology inside should be there, supply chain should issues, and it is final institutions should treat a storage project as a part with our renewable energy project. Government should provide some R&D supports, pilot projects, and we should also declare if you are allowing solar and wind, we should also ask them to give some energy storage obligations so that the cost balance, and we may develop some kind of a role models, etc. And then we have a possibility of regionally integration, and I think all SAARC countries are signed by. I saw a document which is available on our Minister Power side, where all eight energy ministers have, foreign ministers have signed agreement where that regional cooperation in energy infrastructure is which is very beneficial for economic, technical, environmental, all the good regions, and some market is happening, and so this I would like to quit because I'm overshooting the time. Just this is last slide. Incidentally, the laboratory, our institution has got international laboratory, which provides the model testing, where before manufactured goes, and this is as per international standard 60193. So we have tested many of things. We have many are in the frame, and we are also further expanding all kind of turbines, including pumped storage turbine, is doable here, and the models are there, and it's in a very friendly manner, not like typical manufacturers. Protocols. Here we go relatively much easy atmosphere. So with this, I'd like to say thank you for precious hearing, and I would like to certainly take the questions after when all people complete. So I would like to unshare my presentations, and over to you, Javed Sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Sir. It was wonderful listening to you, and the topics which you already covered were very detailed, including the importance of storage technologies, then the clean energy transition landscape in India, the classification of PSP technologies, the technology development over there, and the overall overview of South Asia. So it was great listening to you and learning a lot from you, Professor. So we would like to ask the participants if there are any questions who may like to ask Professor Arun Kumar. You may ask right now. Otherwise, we also have an opportunity to ask your questions at the end of our three presenters. So maybe we can quickly go to our second presenter. Our second presenter will present the presentation on market mechanisms and investment risk for PSH projects. The presentation shall be delivered by Assistant Professor Himanshu Jain. Professor Himanshu Jain is an assistant professor in the Department of Hydro and Renewable Energy at IIT Roorkee. He has over 12 years of combined research and industry experience in modeling and analyzing the impacts of integrating high levels of renewable energy in power systems. Currently, he is using advanced modeling techniques to explore the role of inverter-based resources, energy storage, particularly PSP, and demand flexibility in clean power grids. Before joining IIT Roorkee, Dr. Jain worked as a senior research engineer and research engineer at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, Golden, Colorado, USA from 2017 to 2021. He holds a PhD, MS, and BTech degrees in electrical engineering from Virginia Tech, the University of Texas, and GB Penn University of Agriculture and Technology, respectively. So over to you, Himanshu ji, for your presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk about the market mechanisms for PSP. So I'll start with sharing my screen. If you can confirm that the screen is visible in presentation mode, I'll then begin. Okay, great. Professor Arun Kumar has already set the context for why we need PSP. He has also talked about the challenges and the opportunities that pumped storage provides, particularly for the SAARC region, but in general for the world at large. So what I will do in the allocated time to me is present to you some mechanisms that have been used or that are available for financing or for paying for the cost of developing PSP projects. And what we'll understand, and that I intend for you to understand by the end of this presentation, is that there is no one single model that would work for everybody. Everyone's conditions are unique. So a model that is custom made for a country and a combination of different types of models may end up being the solution that works best for you. So to begin, let me first talk about what are the various mechanisms that are available for paying for PSP or for funding the PSP projects. So the first one that I think most of us in South Asia are very well aware of is the long-term power purchase agreement. So we all know that in this case, we calculate what is the levelized cost of storage, because now we're talking about energy storage or PSP plant. So we calculate what is the current value of storage, what is the value of the generation that it provides. We take the ratio and we get the levelized cost of storage or the levelized tariff. Based on this tariff, but that is only one part, we have to also account for the provision for pumping energy. Because unlike a generation plant, a PSP plant would need you to pump water as well. So you need energy to pump that water, and that energy has to be paid for as well. So that could be done using a captive solar PV plant, or a distribution company is what, as we call them in India, would provide for it. So that could be an option available. The major advantage of going into a long-term PPA, and the reason why it is also preferred by many, is because you get revenue certainty for the developer. So it's much easier to get financing for building that PSP plant if you have this revenue certainty. And for the DISCOM, the advantage is that they get assured capacity. They know the price that they're going to pay for using this capacity, for meeting their peak demand requirements, for instance. They have the certainty as well. So both benefit from this certainty of the revenue that the developer can earn and the cost at which power can be purchased by the distribution company. But is it really the best deal for both parties? Maybe there are other options. If you were to go to the wider market and find another option through a market-based mechanism, perhaps you might be able to procure this capacity at lower cost. You are not, if maybe getting tied for 20-25 years is not the best option. Perhaps you need a shorter duration arrangements, and they are also market works best. So those are some things that people ponder about before they go into long-term PPA arrangements, and that might not work in favor of this particular market model. In case there are delays in developing a project, then the tariff will also go up. So that is possible. Particularly in on-river PSP projects where you might have to do a lot of rehabilitation, there might be geological surprises. So those may be things beyond a developer's control that may delay the project and end up increasing the cost of increasing the tariff by the time the project comes online. So that may also be one issue that long-term PPA would create for both parties. Then the other option is, why not we go to the market? We go to the wholesale energy market, where the idea is that we can leverage the difference in prices for peak power and off-peak power, and then use that difference in prices to pay for the cost of PSP, the investment that you have made. So this has been the whole idea behind wholesale energy markets started roughly around the mid-1990s. In the developed countries, and now it has expanded to a lot of other countries in the world, including in India. And here the idea is that, well, market competition will help you reduce the cost of electricity. What is the demand for electricity? What are the supply options? They both will decide what is the right cost that somebody ends up paying for procuring electricity. And for PSP in particular, the opportunity, as I said, is in terms of what is the difference in peak and off-peak price. If you have a lot of power available, let's say from renewable energy in the daytime, your price for electricity would be lower. At the night time, when you have no solar, then the price of electricity may go up. And PSP and energy storage technologies in general intend to utilize this difference so that they can pay for their costs. Now, how useful will it be? Is this alone going to be enough? Depends on a number of things. A couple of them I've mentioned here. What is the price cap in your energy market? So all electricity markets have a price cap. They don't allow the cost of electricity purchased from the market to go above a certain limit. So for example, in India right now, it's about 10 rupees a unit. Whereas the average cost of electricity that is purchased in this wholesale market is roughly rupees 5.5 per unit in India. If you contrast that to what you get in PJM in the United States, which is one of the organized markets, there are several organized markets there, but this is the largest that they have in the US. The average, the maximum price that the market can offer is as high as $3.75 per unit. And you compare that to the average price of electricity purchase on a normal day, that's only 8 cents a unit. So the differential is quite high between how high the price can go, and this offers better opportunity for somebody to use energy arbitrage and pay for the cost of PSP. If you one more thing I want to highlight here is if you look at this 8 cents a unit price, that roughly translates to 6.5 rupees, 6.7 rupees a unit in terms of Indian INR to USD conversion. So if you look at the average per capita incomes for India and the United States, the differential is also quite high, but the cost of electricity is not that much difference. So this is a unique challenge for our countries, developing countries like India and SAARC in general, that while a high energy price difference is good for PSP developers, in our countries, we have to be also mindful of what is the actual cost of electricity, because a lot of people might not be able to afford very high prices for electricity. So this is a challenge, particularly for a country like ours, and that requires spatial considerations and unique models. And that's why I said what model works for one country might not end up working for the other country. So we have to look at the whole picture and decide what works best for us. Another issue with only relying on wholesale energy markets is that how can we guarantee that the price differential will exist in the long term? When you are making an investment, you're taking a loan from a bank, for example, they would be looking at what is the certainty that the entity that is taking the loan will be able to pay back the loan and the interest. So depending on the energy market alone is risky, because you don't know, maybe a lot of energy storage capacity will be developed in the future, and they will be bidding at much lower prices compared to what they're bidding now. So the differential may not be as much. So that's why only relying on energy markets is a little challenging. And I don't know of any example where somebody is solely relying on energy market to just pay for PSP. That is why what some other markets have done is that they have also added another layer of markets, which is called as capacity markets, sort of an alternative to going into a long-term PPA or a bilateral contract between two entities. What they're saying is that the market operator, an independent system operator, like I said, PJM in the case of US is one example of market operator. They come up with what is the capacity requirement for my system in the short, medium, and long terms. And once this capacity requirement is identified, they let market players compete to provide their capacity to meet this requirement. So in PJM, for instance, which probably was the first market in the US to bring this capacity market concept, they use an auction approach. Everybody puts in their bids for meeting the capacity requirement, and the highest cost bid that meets that capacity requirement is what gets paid to everybody who participated in the market. So they have come up with this alternative to a long-term PPA. Let market decide what capacity needs to be procured. This gives you more certainty because you get revenue upfront, and it makes it easier for you to secure financing for building your project as well. However, there are risks too. For example, you might end up procuring too much capacity than what you need. For example, what has happened, again, I go back to the example of PJM, they ended up procuring too much fossil fuel-based capacity. Now, there is not that much interest in using fossil fuel-based capacity. We want to go to RE resources. Plus, what the experience of extreme weather events in Texas told them was that fossil fuel reliability was not as high as they were expecting it to be. So they have rationalized it. So as a result, 26 gigawatt of capacity that they procured is not considered to be as reliable. And now they have to procure more capacity. And as your demand for capacity has gone up, so are the prices at which people are offering that capacity. So you end up paying more for that capacity that you're procuring. So again, as with everything in the world, there are benefits, but then there are drawbacks as well that we have to be careful of before we go into a particular option. And finally, For PSP, what we have seen, and I'll give you some examples of, three countries and the various mechanisms that they have used. Government support is also critical for supporting PSP technologies and energy storage technologies in general, because the cost is going to be high, because you're producing electricity and then you need electricity to pump the energy so that you can again produce electricity later. So tax breaks and subsidies, facilitation for land acquisitions, streamlining the siting and permitting process, like Professor Arun Kumar mentioned, in the case of India, especially for off-river PSP plants, government has come up with guidelines that streamline these processes. The government may pay for some costs because this is an asset that is used to improve the quality of electricity that is provided to the consumers, reduce the outage times. So if there are grid benefits, the government may be willing to pay for it. You may conduct special auctions to procure energy storage, and we'll see an example of it coming up. And the government support could also come in terms of R&D support. So like a lot of the new technologies that Professor Arun Kumar mentioned, that they require support in terms of R&D from the government, because there's no guarantee that they would succeed. So if there are technologies that somebody thinks is more useful for my country amongst a plethora of technologies that are available, then the government could provide support for it, and that may help it easier and faster for the technology to be available for use in the system. So what you will see in the next 3 or 4 slides, where I talk about what mechanisms China, the US, and Japan have adopted, what you will see is that you'll find a mix of all these different options that I mentioned, of different market mechanisms that are available. If you take the case of China, they have tried different mechanisms of paying for PSP. The first one is 2-part tariff. There is a capacity-based tariff. There is a generation-based tariff. The capacity-based tariff is so designed that you recover most of your fixed costs and related taxes. Plus, you're also provided remuneration for providing ancillary services. So frequency support, voltage support, black start support. Because PSP can provide these services, they're also paying you for the provision of these services. The generation tariff, on the other hand, is designed to make up for the variable costs, such as pumping and generation losses. So you get paid for the pumping energy that you use, for the losses that you incur in the transmission of that energy. Then there are capacity-based leased arrangements. Here, the idea is that you get an annual payment from the grid company to rent your facility, and the payment will cover your fixed costs, and the taxes that you have to pay. Plus, you will also be given some rate of return, 5% in this case, but they will not pay for the cost of electricity required for pumping. Then the amount of payment is not dependent on how much you generate. So that gives you more certainty. Maybe the grid does not need you to generate X amount of energy all the time or every day, but they are still going to pay you because you have provided capacity for grid support. So they're still going to pay you for the capacity that you have built. If you look at the case of Japan, so one of the things that you see in China is that their energy market is still evolving. They have come up with a market for providing ancillary services, but the spot market is still evolving. In other countries where the spot market has evolved quite a bit, they have had more experience with spot markets. They're gradually moving towards utilizing the spot market and the price differential available there to pay for most of the PSP costs. So in Japan, for example, they have been running a spot market for a long time. And there are a lot of energy arbitrage opportunities that are available there for PSP to benefit from. That's one mechanism that is there. At the same time, they also have a capacity market, so they're able to provide price certainty through these long-term power purchase through this capacity market route. The government support for PSP is also there, especially through R&D, like the seawater-based PSP projects that have been supported by the government. And there are taxes and subsidies as well. We haven't been able to find out what exact levels of taxes and subsidies are there, but there is indication that taxes and subsidies are also being made available by the government to support PSP development. What they've also done is they are periodically they're also conducting these long-term decarbonization power source auctions. They had one in January 2024, and a total of 1.67 gigawatt of projects were procured. They won in this auction, which included 577 megawatt of PSP as well. So what you see is that even in a mature even a country with a mature market with a lot of experience with the spot market and wholesale purchase and sale of electricity, still there are mechanisms that there is government support that is being provided for procurement of energy storage, because it is required for supporting your grid and enabling your RE transition. If you look at US, it has one of the most complex markets, just because there is no one single mechanism that governs the purchase and sale of electricity in the country. If you look at government support, it is coming through a lot of tax credits, like the production tax credit, which provides you some credit based on how much energy you actually produce. It is available to hydropower plants, including PSP, but only for projects that are beginning construction before 2025. We'll see what happens in the future, but right now it is only restricted to projects that are going to start construction before 2025. But there are various types of markets available in the US as well, besides government support. So about 40% of the electricity in the country is under vertically integrated utilities, like the older mechanism where one utility owns all generation, transmission, and distribution. And 60% of it is under wholesale markets, and each wholesale market has its own unique design. They may largely be the same, but their mechanisms are not unique. They're not identical. They're different. So as a result, you have various business models that are available to you, various market mechanisms to purchase electricity, long-term PPAs you can do to de-risk your investment in the long term. You have energy arbitrage opportunities, so you can decide that I will go for a long-term PPA for part of my capacity, but for energy arbitrage, I'll keep some so that I have more play and I can make more profit. And then capacity markets are also available. So as an example, if you look at the case of California and the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, which is a vertically integrated utility, a municipal utility in California, it recently signed a 25-year PPA for 400 megawatt of solar and 800 megawatt hour of energy storage. And that was for battery storage, but they also operate pump storage plants. So this PPA route is there. Then you have capacity market mechanisms in California ISO, for example, where they pay $7.7 per kilowatt month for capacity contracts. But only those storage assets that can provide rated power for 4 hours, only those are eligible to provide to participate in this market. The mechanism is different in PJM. What they say is that capacity payment will only be made for power levels that are sustained for at least 10 hours. So if you have a 100 megawatt battery storage for 4 hours, you can derate it by 2.5 times and provide that much capacity. And this is where PSP has a huge advantage. So as Professor Arun Kumar has shown you earlier, pump storage plants can be built to very high capacity, and they can provide very long duration storage as well. One example is from Bath County in Virginia, where they have a 3.3 gigawatt pump storage plant that can provide 8 hours of storage at 3.3 gigawatt power level. So for 10 hours, you can provide easily more than 2 gigawatt of capacity for 10 hours and get capacity payment for this high capacity that is available. So this is an advantage in the capacity market for pump storage plants, because they come up with very large capacities and very long duration storage available. So what you see is that there is a mix of different market mechanisms. There's no one mechanism that a country has adopted. Even for a market-based economy like in the United States, they still have PPAs. They still have in a spot market, they have a capacity market, and still government is providing support. And this is what you see in some form in India as well. If you look at business models for PSP in India, long-term PPA in the case of Tihri hydropower plant that Professor Arun Kumar just mentioned, it's a 1,000 megawatt PSP plant that is coming up very close to where we are in Roorkee. There is a round-the-clock power concept where there is a hybridization of PSP with solar and wind, so you can provide assured power, a certain amount of assured power from this hybrid resource. There are energy arbitrage opportunities, but on their own, they're unlikely to be profitable. So what you see here in the bottom graph is the way what we have done is we have taken the price for each day for year, this is 2023, and we've looked at what are the top 6 hours, highest price 6 hours, taken the average price for those, which is your blue curve, and then we have taken the lowest 8 hours, lowest price 8 hours, and taken the average of those for every day. So the difference that you see between these two, the blue curve and the red curve, provides you the energy arbitrage opportunity. So if you look at, for example, this point, which I'm hovering over here on the first day, the average price was around 8 rupees that you could generate at. And for pumping, you could purchase the electricity at 2.5 rupees or 3 rupees. So you get this 5 rupee differential between what you can earn by selling electricity at a higher price and purchasing electricity for pumping at lower price. But this is not uniform. As you see throughout this curve, in some places, in some days, it is equal. So there is no opportunity for you to earn any revenue from the energy market. And that really tells you that relying solely on energy arbitrage may not be the best option. Plus, you see here, a lot of the days, the 10 rupee cap was also hit. So if the cap were higher, you would have more opportunity to participate in the market. But again, if you increase this cap, you increase the cost of energy production, procurement, and that eventually gets passed on to the consumer, and which is a challenge for a country like ours. So business models are still in an evolving phase in India, and we are working on, at IIT Roorkee, we are working with different agencies to work out what are the right business models and what are the various options available for a country like ours where PSP could fit so that we can best fund the PSP projects. You could do it based on qualitative analysis, but in my view, maybe because I come from a modeling background, I think modeling provides a much better way to understand what is the data behind, or how do you back your logic with data. So modeling provides you the quantified information so that you can make an argument for supporting one model versus the other. So one example is we are given some spot prices. We are assuming it's a price taker model. Price doesn't change no matter how much PSP is added. We have an ancillary service price. We have a PPA price. And then we decide how should I break down my 1 megawatt of notional capacity of PSP and decide whether I should put 50% in spot market or 20% in spot market, 30% capacity market, some for ancillary service. So I can make this decision based on this optimization problem. Either you can develop your own tools. There are a lot of open source capabilities nowadays available that one can utilize to develop your own tools, or you can use commercial production cost simulation models as well, much more detailed than what I have shown here to understand what is the business case for PSP and what mechanism you should use. This is one example of what we have done. We have used a production cost model.
May I interrupt for a minute, Himanshu?
Yes, sir.
Could you just let me know how much time would you
This is the last slide, sir.
Okay, thank you. Because our third presenter is in line now. Thank you.
Yes. I'll just end with this slide. So this festive tool is an open source production cost simulation tool that has been made available by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Colorado, where I worked. And you just have to purchase a license for what is called as a GAMS tool. It's not very expensive. It can be easily purchased. And then you can feed in a lot of information about the load, what is the generation mix available in your country, what is the transmission network model, and then it can tell you, does addition of PSP help your market? Does it increase your amount of solar energy that you can add? Does it reduce solar curtailment? How much energy storage do you actually need to meet your RE requirements? So very quickly, if you look at the graphs here, what it tells you is if I make my existing generation resource more flexible, perhaps I add more hydro in my system, my solar curtailment starts to go down. My need for energy storage also starts to go down as my flexibility increases. Depending on where I locate my energy storage, the amount of energy storage that I need or I can utilize is also going down. I've put the same capacity in all the cases, but by putting storage in one location versus the other location, my actual utilization of storage is different. So I need to know where I should put my storage, how flexible my other generation resources are, do I have demand flexibility, and only then I can tell how much energy storage do I need, whether it will help me add more solar energy or not, and that can help me decide what the right market mechanism is going to be. So finally, what I want to conclude with is that PSP is essentially required for you to add more renewable energy in the grid. It has advantage of indigenization, especially for South Asian countries where we may not have the raw material for battery energy storage, but indigenous production of PSP is possible. So it's a huge asset that we should focus on. There is no one business model that will work for us. For South Asian countries, which are very sensitive to electricity prices, we may need to come up with our own model that is a mix of PPA, wholesale energy market, government support, all taken together. Business models are not going to be, one size fits all. Has to be unique for each country. Even developed countries provide government support. So government support, in my view, is going to be required for developing PSP. And this is something, again, I would recommend we should try to utilize modeling to the extent possible using open source tools or commercial tools that are there to justify what business model we should use for PSP. So with that, I'll end here. And if there's any question, I'll be happy to answer now, or maybe we can take them up later as you see. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Himanshu ji, for your excellent presentation. We had listened to detailed reviews on pricing mechanisms and the investment opportunities, plus the important point you have raised during the presentation about the energy arbitrage opportunities for South Asia countries. So we have some questions, but I would like my third presenter to wait more.
Sure.
We already are overdue, so we would quickly go to our third presentation, and then afterwards we would have a separate session of half an hour for question answers by the participants. So I would again ask the participants to write your questions on the Q&A panel, and we'll address them. Otherwise, if you want to ask directly, you can also raise your hand on the software, this MS Team software, and we will give you the mic to ask question directly from the participants. So over to our last presenter. Our last presentation is on PSH sustainability and challenges in European Union. We have a presenter, Dr. Emmanuel Quaranta, who is a scientific officer at the Joint Research Centre of the European Commission, and his main focus is the water, energy, food ecosystem nexus, focusing especially on hydropower and its interference with the Earth's spheres, wastewater, nature-based solutions, and digitalization of the water sector. He is the lead author of the hydropower section of the Clean Energy Technology Observatory project, and he coordinated to exploratory research hydro on sustainable hydropower potential in the EU and novel technologies. From 2014 to 19, he was a researcher at Politecnico di Torino, Italy, where he worked on low head hydropower and fish passages. He achieved his PhD in 2017 and won both the Quality Award and the prize for the best PhD Italian thesis on water engineering. He was the president of the IAHR Italy in 2021-22, and he was also included among the most influential scientists, 2% most influential scientists in the world in study of Stanford University. He is an expert and consultant on hydraulic design of water wheels and a research project evaluator for governmental institutions and national authorities on hydropower. So over to Dr. Emmanuel Quaranta for his presentation, sir.
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, perfect. Thank you for the invitation. My presentation will be on the European Union. I think is good to have a different context in order to compare the different situations and to find similarities and differences. I share my screen. Okay. It's fine because I cannot see you now that
Yes.
it's fine. Okay.
Yes, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I am Emanuele Quaranta. I work at the European Commission, in particular in the Research Center of the European Commission. And what we do in our Research Center, in particular, I am in the Water and Ocean Unit of the European Commission, where we do scientific research in the water field, in all kinds of water, rivers, ocean, seas, urban water, hydropower, in order to support the policies. Here you can see all the different policies in the water sector that we have supported by our scientific research. And hydropower and pumped hydropower storage is among these policies because it is not only energy, but is also water. So just a few words about sustainability in hydropower. Hydropower, as you know, is at the center of a big debate because on one hand, we have the benefit of hydropower, but on the other hand, we have several challenges and impacts. Like, for example, if we look at the benefit, we have that hydropower and pumped storage hydropower is renewable energy, provide energy storage flexibility, but also water management of reservoirs, market development, technological development. But on the other hand, we have also impacts like impact on fish, on sedimentation, hydropeaking. And this is reflected, this conflict, also in the policy development. For example, in the European Union, we have the Water Framework Directive, where hydropower is a source of impact. On the other hand, we have the Renewable Energy Directive, where hydropower is a clean energy technology. So we have energy target in conflict with environmental target. On the other hand, we have other policies where pump storage and hydropower are in the middle, because, for example, if we look at floods protection, reservoirs are important because they can store water. So pump storage, especially those in rivers, can store water, can help also in mitigating floods. But on the other hand, barriers in rivers can also make floods worse, because they reduce the flow available, the area available in rivers. So there are different conflicts now when talking about hydropower. And therefore, sustainable hydropowers need to achieve a good balance between electricity generation and flexibility, but also social benefit and impacts on the ecosystems. And this is reflected also in the pump storage hydropower field. What is pump storage? I will not go into detail because the other presentation already discussed this. We mainly have two kinds of pump storage, the open loop and the closed loop. The open loop is when a reservoir is connected to a river. A closed loop system is when the two reservoirs are stand-alone systems, so they are not connected with rivers. Energy storage, not only in pump storage, but also in a reservoir, in traditional hydropower with reservoirs, are the largest source of energy storage today. And because globally, reservoir hydropower plus pump storage hydropower store about 1,500 terawatt-hours, which is about 170 times more than the global fleet of pump storage hydropower plants and more than 2,000 times the capacity of batteries. If we exclude traditional hydropower reservoir but only look at pump storage store more than 90% of the total energy storage in the world. Here you can see a picture of pump storage development in the European Union. You can see that most of the storage potential from pump storage is in the Alps, so in the northern Italy, Switzerland, Austria, and the installed power in the European Union, so not Europe, just European Union, is 46 gigawatts. That is more or less 1/4 of the global installed capacity of the world. Indeed, the European Union has a big export capacity also of hydropower and pump storage hydropower equipment. More or less 50% of the global export of hydropower came from the European Union. So how it is possible to make pump storage and hydropower more sustainable? How it is possible to develop new pump storage hydropower also, for example, from existing infrastructure and not building new dams? The first option is to modernize the existing hydropower plants and pump storage. Here you can see in the European Union how the water volume in reservoirs has increased during the time. So the construction of new reservoirs during the time. You can see that the most capacity addition has been between 1940 to 1980. And therefore, most of hydropower dams in the European Union are old, are older than 50, 40 years, so they need to be modernized. And so it is possible to modernize these reservoirs and these hydropower plants with new solutions in order to, for example, digital solution, or by replacing electromechanical equipment, or by building new waterways and penstocks. And in this way, we calculated that it is possible to increase generation by 11%. But it is possible also to increase flexibility by, for example, the installation of variable speed turbines, or using the short circuit operation. Also, for example, improving turbines at part load operation. Another challenge of hydropower and pump storage hydropower is to integrate them with other sources of energy technology, like, for example, the integration of reservoirs of pump storage with floating photovoltaics and batteries. The integration of pump storage with batteries is very useful because batteries can provide short-term balance services like 1-2 hours flexibility, while pump storage can provide energy storage and flexibility for more than 2 hours, 1 day, also weeks and seasonal, also water and energy storage. So they are complementary. Another challenge is, for example, to the different uses of water reservoirs and pump storage. Here you can see the situation of large reservoirs in the European Union. On the left, you see that 67% of large reservoirs are only for one use. All the rest, so 30%, are for multiple uses. But if we look at the volume of the reservoirs, we can see that the 30% of the multiple use reservoirs store more or less the same amount of water of the single use reservoirs. And one challenge in the future is to build new pump storage, hydropower, new reservoirs, not only for one use, so for hydropower or for pump storage, but also in general for water management uses. So using those reservoirs also, for example, for water supply, for water management, for flood control. One other problem of reservoirs and of pump storage is the reduction of the available volume due to sedimentation. For example, in the European Union, we have that approximately every year a sediment volume of more or less 1% of the total storage volume of the reservoirs fill the reservoirs. So we need dredging and other solutions to empty these reservoirs. And these solutions, for example, the dredging, we have estimated in a paper that cost between 5 to 8 billion euro annually. So desedimentation is a problem that affects reservoirs and also pump storage hydropower. Another solution, sustainable solution in order to develop pump storage without building new dams, so a more sustainable solution is to use abandoned mines. As you can see in this picture, there was a European project called Atlantis that is looking at this. For example, there is a paper that found that in the European Union, there is a potential, energy storage potential of 7 terawatt hours that can be exploited by building pump storage in abandoned mines. Another solution to build new pump storage hydropower plant without building new dams, so without many environmental impacts, is connecting existing reservoirs, as you can see in this picture. And depending on the interconnection distance, so connecting reservoirs that are closer than, for example, 2 kilometers or 20 kilometers, obviously we have a different potential, no? A storage potential in gigawatt hour. And you can see that the potential is quite high. Another way to improve in a sustainable way pump storage capacity and energy storage capacity of reservoirs is the heightening of dams, so increasing the dam height. For example, there has been a study in Switzerland where they found that by increasing between 5 to 10% the height of the dam, it is possible to increase the energy storage capacity of reservoirs and of pump storage reservoirs of 30%. Another possibility for pump storage is to reduce also the need to build a new storage facility is to improve the grid. If we assume to interconnect all Europe, we estimated in a paper, so in particular Warman et al. Estimated that it's possible to reduce the energy storage demand by 200 terawatt hour, and this will allow to avoid, for example, the construction of new power plants, and so to optimize the system in a more sustainable way. But this is not always possible because expanding the grid has several challenges. However, there are not only sustainable solutions that can be built, but also new greenfield pump storage hydropower are possible. For example, Stokes et al. Identified worldwide a lot of possibility to build new pump storage hydropower plants. And you can see that also in the European Union, there are possibilities of for more or less 300 terawatt hour of energy storage capacity. Another study of Hunt et al. Found, Stokes et al. For the closed loop systems. Instead, Hunt et al. Investigated the same topic, but for open loop hydropower and pump storage hydropower, finding that, for example, in the European Union, there is a potential of 10-14 terawatt-hours from the cheapest sites. Another way to build new pump storage hydropower is using the ocean. So both, for example, building this large sphere on the seabed that can be filled and empty, providing energy and absorbing also energy, but also using an upper reservoirs and the ocean, the sea, as lower reservoirs and pumping water. The problem is the salinity, because some power plants that have been built in this way suffered of corrosion due to corrosive water. So there are still challenges, for example, associated to the use of innovative materials. But this sustainable solution can not only be applied to pump storage hydropower, but also to traditional hydropower in general. For example, we did an assessment on how it is possible to modernize existing hydropower with novel technologies, and we found that by digitalization of the operation, by using new electromechanical equipment, and by new waterways and penstock, for example, new waterways are useful because they can be built with less friction, so with less head losses, we can increase energy generation by 11%. But modernization is important not only to increase energy, but also to increase flexibility, for example, in pump storage, but also to increase sustainability, safety, also resilience to climate changes, like, for example, to optimize how the pump storage, how the reservoirs works, also in light of climate changes. Another way to increase hydropower generation is the using of existing barriers. For example, we found that it's possible, for example, installing turbines in existing barriers, in water mills, increase energy generation by 2.5%. Another solution are hydrokinetic turbines, especially in fast-flowing rivers, but in the European Union, the potential is not so high. More or less, we can add 1% of the current energy generation from hydropower by hydrokinetic turbines. There is also the possibility to install hydropower in water distribution network and in wastewater treatment plants, and in this case, it's possible to increase the hydropower generation by 0.8%. So hydropower and pump storage can also be hybridized with other energy technology. I already talked about the integration with batteries for pump storage, but also with photovoltaic system. Like, for example, in the European Union, it is possible to generate more or less 140 terawatt-hours per year with floating photovoltaics on hydropower reservoirs. But it is possible to combine pump storage and hydropower also with wind and also with heat extraction from the generator, because you know that generators use cooling systems, and we can extract from this cooling system heat and using this heat for warming, for example, cities or the buildings. So thank you. These are some of my key personal references that you can refer for further details, and I'm open to any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel, for giving us a different perspective apart from the South Asian region, whereby Arun Kumar ji and Himanshu ji presented. So over to participants, if you have any questions, you may ask right now. We have a session right now for the question answer session. We have seen some questions in our chat box. Over to Himanshu ji for this specifically regarding the tool for this hydropower. The participant was asking whether GAMS is used or Festive is used. Do you have any comments on that one?
Yeah, sure. GAMS is a general purpose modeling tool. So if you want to build your own tool, you can easily use GAMS. I use GAMS on as well. Festive works with GAMS. So Festive is just a bunch of MATLAB scripts that are available online. So you can download them and it connects with GAMS, and then you can do the production cost simulation. So GAMS license will be needed. There is a free version that they provide, but it's limited by the size of the problem. So if you want to use Festive for any realistic problem, you would need to buy the commercial one. The academic license is fairly cheap, and you don't need to buy the solver with GAMS. Cplex for research purposes, not for commercial purposes, for research purposes and academic use, my understanding is that that is available free of cost. So you buy GAMS with Cplex solver link, for example. There are other options too. What I use is GAMS with Cplex solver link, and Cplex is available free of cost from IBM. So the only cost incurred is GAMS. Plexus is in my, I have not used it personally, but I know people in my team, they used it. What I hear is that it's a good tool. There are other production cost simulation tools available as well, like Promod, for example. So Plexus can be used. I find, but it's a little pricey because of it's a commercial tool. So if you can get access to Plexus, I mean, it's very powerful. So could use that as well.
Okay, thank you. Professor Arun Kumar, there's a question from Ranjit Sipala. Not a question, he's asking, can we have a case study of an implemented project? I suppose you have in India, there are lots of projects which have been implemented. So can you share some data? If you have it right now, okay. Otherwise, you can also share the data later on. We will upload it on our website for the participants.
We have a study of every project which has been completed. So I would like to share on the mail whenever somebody, or they can send the mail to me also, or they can send to you. I will share with them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let me also tell you, this is a very interesting case which has been right now about to commission. A project is about to commission, which is a Tehri Dam, which is very close to us, which has been working for the last 13, 14 years, because it was using a charged dam. If you construct in a charged dam, challenges are very high because the soil and everything becomes very different. But one of the projects which is in the private sector, and it is in southern India, in Andhra Pradesh, where a 1680 megawatt project, it's a good capacity project, is being constructed in 2.5 years' time. They have excavating started in May 2022, and we expected, if not December, maybe January, February, all 8 machines will be on roll. So there are good cases, but then, as I mentioned, that mitigation, you need to have a robust project management, because if any kind of hydro, same thing happens with the pump storage also. There may be minor changes at the time of constructions, even the design, even the material, even some kind of decisions you have to take, some investment decision you have to take. So that should not go into the board, and board takes 3 years, 2 or 1 year or 3 months to take the decision, because then everything will become a standstill. They have shifted to the board to the site so that the board can take a call immediately. So that, because you should understand that every project delayed is a cost. That's where the people have to understand. And I think now, by and large, all government and everybody is understanding that a delay in the day, even a single day, cost a interest during construction, IDC, and that is where opportunity is also lost. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. So just for the information of the participants, all the presentation slides will be uploaded on our website after the end of this webinar. Plus, we will also upload the references and the material which we have received from the distinguished speakers on our website. And plus, the recording of this whole webinar will also be available on our YouTube channel. The recording link will be available on our website, so you can access all the material and contents later on. So we have an expert, Dr. Janzeb Dilazak, who has an experience of 15 years of working for pumped hydro storage in Pakistan. So he would like to say a few words. Over to Janzeb. Can you hear our voice?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me to discuss this very important topic. And thank you very much, SAARC, for highlighting the importance of pump storage hydropower, especially with respect to SAARC countries. I would like to thank all, especially Professor Arun Kumar, Dr. Himanshu, and Dr. Emmanuel for highlighting the requirement of pump storage and its importance in energy transition. Thank you very much, Professor Arun, for sharing my research article as well. For Paris pump storage, basically what I have developed during my research that how we can retrofit pump storage with existing conventional hydropower. I developed a strategy for cost-effective, fast-track, and environment-friendly implementation of pump storage. So let me give you a very short example as how we can attract investors for the implementation of pump storage. Like say there is a operator who owns 100 megawatt conventional hydropower today. What if we ask him, would you like to increase your fleet size by another 50 megawatt? He may say that, look, I'm already running on the optimum discharge. But what we can suggest, if we find a suitable location for the upper reservoir, then we can utilize your existing infrastructure, like access road is there, transmission line is there, your conventional hydropower reservoir is there. So you can just need to add one reservoir and a pump storage power plant. So what will happen? When he's going to reach out to the financing agency or the donor agency, there will be less risk because he is already running a conventional hydropower plant over there. He's available at site. He knows the risk and the geography and the local conditions. And the thing is, he is also going to have lower operational cost because he don't need to multiply his team for pump storage. He's going to add like 50% of the existing staff, and he's also going to utilize his existing facilities. So in this way, this could be a business case scenario to invest, to attract more and more investors in this field. Why I'm focusing on this thing, Professor Arun has also highlighted this thing, that we are increasing the share of variable renewable energy on a very fast track basis. But the reality is that pump storage, like conventional hydropower, take years and years to get implemented. And its development is requires long time. So in other words, I can say that we are heading to a dead end. Or we can say we are heading to a closed street. We are increasing the share of variable renewable energy every day, and we are not working on energy storage. So what will happen? Himanshu can also support me on this thing, that we are making our grid more and more vulnerable to blackouts, to frequent failures in all the SAARC countries. So we need to have a master planning of the sites, potential sites where pump storage can be implemented. If we do this master planning today, these pump storage are eventually going to take at least 7 to 8 years to develop. So we need to realize the importance of this pump storage planning today, and we need to work out with all the SAARC countries so that this master planning should be initiated at the earliest, leading to individual projects later on. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I would like to discuss this topic in other seminars you're going to conduct on this very important topic in the future as well. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you very much, Janzeb, Dr. Janzeb, for your comments. Maybe a professor would like to respond on this. Yes.
Sure.
Professor, you are not audible. Yes.
Can't hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Janbez, it's very nice that you brought out that, though I did mention that having a, convention, using the conventional powers, storage, or whether it's a power or it's a, irrigation, that is one of the wonderful and the easiest opportunity, or the first opportunity, low-hanging fruits. That too, when you are using the existing hydropower. I would like to tell you there are about 15 such cases are happening in India. Though they are not constructed. Even you might have heard the name Bhakra Dam. Bhakra Dam right now is being explored. There are 2 schemes are being planned on the top of the hill, using the Bhakra Dam as a reservoir, as a lower reservoir. Similarly, projects where, and also can tell you that constructing a lower reservoir in a very famous project called Iduki, which is one of the double arch, I think one of the largest double arch, and a very nice project of about 700, 800 megawatt capacity in Kerala, where they are using existing reservoir, but using as the upper reservoir and then constructing a lower reservoir. irrespective of existing hydropower. So they are going to construct 800 megawatt of power with constructing a small lower reservoir, not in the river, but on the side of it, so that they can up and down, so that without causing any disturbance on the water availability to the existing ones. So there are many opportunities. Of course, they have to be explored, and they have to be first of all, a good reasonable data should be available to the researchers or planners, and then they should plan it. They should with a plan with the economic analysis, because without economics, no decision makers will be able to take a call. So with all the details, I think this is a very good suggestion you mentioned, and especially the country like, let me tell you, in our SAARC region, Afghanistan could be one. Bangladesh, this Pakistan is the one, and then the Sri Lanka. There are three countries where this situation is very, very well can be utilized. Of course, Bangladesh being the flat, and Bhutan is still not on that phase of the large dam. They are more on the runoff river with a large head, and Nepal also is coming up with a few dams. So these three countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan and Sri Lanka, they are very fit case for your proposal.
Thank you very much, Professor. So I would quickly go to Dr. Quaranta. Dr. Emmanuel, would you like to say, we have listened to detailed presentations from Arun Kumarji and Himanshuji. You have seen what barriers or challenges are there in the SAARC region, in our South Asia region, for developing this pump storage technology. So, but while looking from the European Union or European region, what are your comments on the barriers which you have been facing in your region for developing this pump storage technology?
Yeah, thank you. I think there are several barriers. The first one is, yes, the competition with other technology, like, for example, batteries or hydrogen. But as I said in the presentation, this, in my opinion, this should be seen not as competitive technologies, but as complementary technology, because batteries are more appropriate maybe for flexibility, services of a few seconds, hours. This will allow also to reduce the stress on hydropower equipment, for example, by using batteries, while pump storage is more for a flexibility service of hours, days, also for seconds flexibility, but maybe batteries are more economic than pump storage in the very short term. Another challenge is indeed for pump storage, the fact that there could be some impacts on the environment, like, for example, the flooding of several areas. But sustainable solutions are possible, like, for example, using abandoned mines or connecting existing reservoirs. I showed these different solutions. I will obviously share the slides. But don't forget that also batteries have an impact, because batteries use, for example, critical materials. So they also have an impact. Another challenge for pump storage is that generally the investment cost is quite high and higher than that for batteries, so the euros per kilowatt. But then if we look at the long-term energy and investment return, if we look at all the lifespan, we can say that pump storage is more convenient than battery in the long term, because in the long term, a pump storage lasts more. A lifespan of pump storage is also 50 years, while battery after 10 years should be replaced, for example. So the investment cost of pump storage is higher, but in the long term, the energy and the gain return is higher than that of batteries. And don't forget that pump storage, the water reservoirs associated to pump storage, can also be used in emergency situations. For example, if we need water because there is a drought or there is a firefight, a fire, we can use that water. Okay, so there are several challenges, but also much more opportunities.
So over to Dr. Arun Kumar, I would like to take this conversation further on this battery versus the energy, this pump storage. We have seen that in Pakistan also and in other regions, normally the utilities are more emphasizing on battery storage technologies instead of the already established technology, which is pumped hydro, which is very much developed in our region. So why utilities are moving towards the more expensive novel technology with so many other issues, this battery one, compared to the pumped hydro? Over to Arun C. Sir, you are not audible.
I'm not audible?
Now you're audible.
Yes, now
sir.
it's okay. Yes, yes.
See, the battery has a very simple attraction. First of all, there are a manufacturer will come and discuss, and 1 year's time, 2 years' time, you will get it supplied. The discoms normally, there are very few discoms which work on long term, 10 years, 20 years. People most of the time, because discoms, most of the discoms in the, especially SAARC region or many other countries, are distressed because they have to, they are not getting the energy price which they should get it because of various compulsions of the public and etc. So for them, the battery becomes immediate answer solution because you can get it in 1 year, 2 years time. On the other hand, whatever the best you can do it, you cannot expect a project of PSP to come up less than 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 5 years, 7, 8 years. That's number one. So it gets attraction. Even in India, for example, Gujarat, I just give an example. I'm trying to, we are trying to mention for the last few years that Gujarat requires, because Gujarat is going to have a lot of wind and solar, it requires a very high level of storage capacity, at least 4,000 megawatt, 5,000 megawatt. So for the last 4 or 5 years, they were not doing much on the PSP because PSP will take 7 years, 8 times. Without realizing, they would have started in 19. This 5 year would have been now become only 3, 4 years. So now they are placing the order on the batteries. That's simple, number one. Number two, people feel that the battery is going to cost further lower because though the battery is about 50-60% cost of the total, I think the other component price will rise, up the cables, etc. But then it has a very simple that it is immediate and you can do it very close to your load center. In PSP, you had to depend on many other things and takes a lot of time. And that's a simple reason that battery get attraction. But let me tell you, a country like in China, which produces the batteries, which had the material issues, though they don't have material issues like we have material issues, all other countries who do not have the material for the battery, they have issues, but still the China is doing a lot of PSP. So both are required. I will not like to say they are competition, but then they are in complementary. For short duration, maybe battery is an answer. For the longer duration, the PSP is the only answer at the moment.
Thank you very much, Arunji. I think we have a lot to discuss more, but we have already crossed our time for the webinar. And I'm not sure, maybe the meeting would end itself. So I would like to say the concluding words. And with this, I would like to conclude the webinar.
Javed sir, 1 minute.
Please.
Three of us are here. The email IDs are with all the participants who are with you. Since the email IDs are with you, if you have any kind of question, any query or anything which we can share with a document, please drop a mail, because on this webinar you can't do much everything. But if anything, if you want anything which is available and publicly can be shared, we will be very first person as a teacher or as a professor. We will be very happy to share anything if anything is helpful to understanding knowledge and broadening the knowledge. So please take these words from us. So any kind of which you drop a mail, but then for that you have to drop a mail, and then we give a few days time, and you will certainly receive a response. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arunji, for your generous offer. And I would also ask the other participants after the webinar if they allow us to share their emails. So we would do so, and then any participant can contact them directly if they want. Where the information will be available on our website. So thank you everyone for listening to today's session of the webinar. We had excellent presentations from the distinguished presenters. As mentioned earlier, all the material, the presentations, data, recording link will be available on our website. We would welcome any suggestions and comments for further improvement. Plus, if you would like to have a webinar on suggested topics, you can suggest at any time, and we can arrange topics of your interest in future also. We would gladly do that. And with me signing out, thank you again, Arun Kumarji, for your time, for Himanshu Jainji for your time, and for Dr. Quaranta at joining us for this odd time in Europe. Thank you very much again, and looking forward to see you next time. It's bye-bye from my side.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Leave